Coming up, a Sad Styles production.
Get into it.
And welcome to the Retrograde, the video game podcast, where this week we explore the spooky world of Holstin. Oh, I should have said RetroGrave. My name is Andrew Spooky Bascom, and with me, as always, is the Bat Boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself. My keys to the hearse, Aaron. No, because there's something scarier than like an Undertaker, like, oh no. My keys. There's a body in there. He was going to scare you so good. And he's just like tapping in the window, just like, I know, I forgot the keys.
Andrew.
Yes.
We made it.
No, we didn't. We've arrived at RetroGrave.
At our legitimately, I love October. Like, I love October. I love fall.
Yeah.
I love Halloween.
Okay.
I hate record. I mean this.
Yes.
We joke about this a lot on the podcast.
Yes.
From the bottom of my heart.
Yes.
I hate recording the games for this month of the podcast.
I all day, I dread going to record this
Yes.
podcast. I go, oh God, this is going to suck so bad. We used to have fun theme months.
Yes.
We did a Simpsons theme month.
Yes.
And this is the theme that is everyone's favorite. I get it. I know why we do it. You guys love it. We hate doing it because it just scares the hell out of us.
We're not good with being spooked. You said all day I dream, and it got me thinking. All day I dread about spooks.
About spooks. Nice. Some da-dee-da stuff there, right there. Yes, very good. Yeah, so this is the first week of RetroGrave, everybody. Welcome to October, where we do play, talk about, and many other things. Scary. That is the theme.
We do scary, and I noticed the release of a demo of a game that I've been very interested in, captivated by, you may even say. This game, Holstin, that is coming out possibly this year, although it's probably looking not like this year at this point. But they released a demo on August 31st. It's the second demo that has been released around this game. If you don't know what the game Holstin is, the demo, as I mentioned, is available for free on Steam. Parts 1 and 2 are available on Steam right now. You can play them both by downloading the single demo. The key element of Holstin that really attracted people to it, it's kind of a pixel art nod to the retro survival horror genre.
Right.
Isometric perspective, kind of like Resident Evil, but more pixel arty than 3D. Although combat encounters, when you aim down the sights of a gun, get to the third person over the shoulder a la Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 4 perspective. So it's a really unique thing. The first time I saw it demoed, I was amazed by it.
Right.
It must mean that the environments are being rendered the same way as like a fully 3D environment, but they're just choosing to show you only so much. You can change the perspective all around a character. And this has kind of made waves across the industry. And when I saw that the demo came out, I was like, we got to do this on the podcast.
And
October's coming up.
we did.
We did
it already. We have played this game. We played this game for well over an hour. So please go over to our YouTube so that you can watch us play this game.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about it a little bit because we have thoughts.
We're going to talk about it. We played through the entirety of part 2 of the demo, which has a little bit of exploration, a little bit of the look and feel of the game, and a heavier emphasis on combat than the first demo does. We played the demo for a full, I think it was like an hour 10 or something like that. So this would be a big recommendation if you only typically listen to the podcast. Not that it's one-to-one a companion piece.
Or essential.
We're going to explain it, break it down. But I would recommend at least checking out some of it just to get a sense, if you haven't seen what the game looks like, of what that is. Obviously, youtube.com/the Retrograde podcast is how you're going to find us there.
Absolutely. So, we played Holstin. We'll talk about that in a bit, but it's RetroGrave.
It is.
Like we're talking about. We love everything about October. It's really fun. You get to dress up in costumes.
Yes.
You get to receive.
Do you know what you're going as for Halloween yet?
Working, probably. I don't know. We'll see.
You're not dressing up?
No. Can I tell you a story? So I work in, I'm going to keep this as vague as possible so no one doxes me. I work in hospitality. And so there are restaurant bars that we work at. And I was helping manage kind of a large party at the time, right? And I dressed up as a skeleton. And I had all this face paint on, and I was a skeleton. Something not bad happened, but something serious in nature happened that I need to Well, it was Halloween. So a crow cawed, a midnight struck, and somebody went dead.
Of course.
And then everyone said, lock the door. Some with the killer's in this room.
Ooh, a Haunting in Venice style. I
yeah.
like it.
Your favorite, most anticipated movie of the fall. And I had to speak to this person about something serious, and I was dressed like an idiot. And I said, I looked at this crying person, I looked her dead in the eyes and went, I understand how ridiculous I look right now. And so I went, maybe just wear fairy wings or a Dracula teeth.
Something that you can pull out.
Yeah,
in
something
the event
very like
yeah.
he's clearly half-assing a costume here. You know what I mean?
So you're not going to go to any Halloween parties prior to
Halloween parties.
If you had to dress up as something, humor me. What would it be?
I would dress up as that's a good question. You know, the thing is, I'm a bald man, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm not going to probably wear a wig. So I need to choose bald characters.
Well, you're not going to wear a wig.
I don't know. I'm not going to buy a wig for this.
Why not?
This feels like, you know, like everyone's like, you shouldn't drink a water bottle. You're like, yeah, but I'm going to buy a complete outfit that I'm not going to wear once and then maybe deposit out.
Well, yes, that's true. However, the environment takes breaks for Halloween costumes.
It does. It likes Halloween just as much as anybody.
If no one in the world ever bought plastic water bottles, we could all get a Halloween costume.
That should be the deal we make with the public.
Yeah,
if everyone knocks it up with the water bottles, we can have Halloween still.
Yeah, exactly.
If somebody cracks one, Halloween's off this year. Come on.
Craig.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I could go as Walter White pretty easy if I shave.
True.
Just put on some glasses, maybe a yellow hazmat suit.
That would work.
Or just underwear. I just wear underwear and a
See,
t-shirt.
that's a good one.
See, that's great.
I like that one.
You've got to be a little self-effacing. What are you going to be?
I'm going as I've done this before, so don't laugh. But the
Okay.
people I'm going to be seeing have not seen this costume before. It's my Freddie Mercury a la Live Aid.
Very good.
Yeah.
So like the little tank top, an armband,
Little tank top, the armband, the jeans,
half mic,
the shoes, half mic indeed,
Yeah.
full Mikey, half
full
mic.
Mikey, half mic. That's good.
Full Monty maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know. But I'm saving the environment because I've recycled this.
Those sound like things you all have already too.
Yeah, studded leather belt. Mustache.
You don't own a leather belt?
studded leather belt.
You didn't go through a period in like when you're early teens?
No, but
Checkered vans and
it was the easy. I knew all I had to do was walk 3 steps into a Value Village and I would find it, or a Salvation. Do they have Value Village in the States?
Yeah, I think
okay.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We have
and
to
you
tailor
found one?
ourselves. Oh yeah, of course I did.
Yeah.
Of course I did. So as we mentioned, as we're kind of making our way along here, we'll get to the Holstin talk in just a little bit. I do want to talk a little bit about video games. I have a couple things off the top, and then we can talk just some scary stuff. Okay,
Ooh, scary.
some things that I got to get off my chest.
Okay.
Some
Killed a guy.
killed a guy. This dude dressed as a skeleton reprimanded me. It was the most awkward day of my life. Some changes of fate, I think, in the gaming industry that we should acknowledge right now. CD Projekt Red were the golden boys and girls of the video game industry for a very long time.
The Witcher,
the rest.
Everyone
loves The Witcher.
And there was a series of Witchers.
Yes.
And there was expanded packs and all this kind of stuff that people really loved.
Yes.
And?
And then Cyberpunk comes out,
yes.
and they botched the launch. And slowly but surely, botched the launch, and then they kind of make good by refunding people's games outright, giving away DLC for free, continuing to work on it, not abandoning the people who bought it. And sure, it took a long time.
Yeah.
But we just had the launch of the Phantom Liberty DLC, and people are going apeshit over it, almost as vocal about how good it is than they were vocal about how bad the launch of Cyberpunk was. And I'm just so happy to see it because I'm sure after slaving away for years and years of their lives, the wonderful team over at CD Projekt Red did not want to ruin everyone's day by releasing a broken game. It's great to see that they stuck with it, that they've now redeemed themselves, and that there's a game out there that is apparently one of the great RPGs of our time, and people are sitting out there and loving it. How do you feel about it? Because
See, you know, it's funny. I'm really glad to hear that, but I feel like there might be a part of it where it's like, now people can go play Cyberpunk as the way that they probably intended. Like, it's actually kind of good now. It's like, you know, without bugs or, you know, or less bugs. And now you can take a new expansion. People are like, oh, this is great. Because I always remember when it first came out 2 years ago.
2020, I think. Yeah.
Jesus. And they wrote
3 years ago.
They wrote a letter of saying like, hey guys, the game is out.
Yes.
We're sorry. And they were, I think it was actually genuinely pretty good, like self-effacing and going like, It is what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
We had to follow this date. It is out.
Yep.
I hope you enjoy it. Please buy it.
Yeah.
And you're like you're saying, I think they went about doing good things to try and mend fences and
Yes.
everything like that. Now with this being out, it's like, this is the best version of the game you're going to
Yes.
get, and people like it. So it almost proves something right in the long run. I don't know, you know?
I think one of the things that I've heard you say before when it comes to, especially when we're talking about Starfield, is it's like,
Sure.
does this just give people an excuse to release an unfinished product and then deal with it later? And maybe a little bit, sure, but because we've seen it happen before. Fallout 76 is a game that is apparently very good now, but when it came out at launch wasn't. No Man's Sky is the game that everyone looks at Starfield and they're
Yes.
like, it's okay, but it's No Man's Sky. Dude, when No Man's Sky came out, people were shitting all over it. So this perpetual improvement of games is great, but I do think that there's a limit to which games can see that sort of benefit, and like, can you afford to have a team tinker around with a game post-launch if the launch fails? I don't know. You kind of have to have some backing leading into it, or sell enough, trick enough people into buying it at
Right?
launch. Yeah,
It feels like a pyramid scheme in a certain way.
Yeah,
That
it
you're
does a
like,
little bit.
or more like a Ponzi scheme, I guess, because it's like, I'm out of money, so I need all your money to fix the product
Sure.
that you've already bought.
but we're not telling you that yet.
No,
yeah,
it's an issue
like
of
a mid Kickstarter. It's
Yes,
like
yeah. It's an issue of schedule and budget. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, the budgets need to come down, the schedules need to be expanded. And I
Right.
know that doesn't make a lot of sense for people that are trying to make money off these games, but eventually we're going to hit a part where people are like, okay, wait.
Yes.
And I don't know when it's going to come. It could be 10 years from now. But I'm glad that Cyberpunk is out, and I'm glad people are loving it. And that, at the end of the day, that's what we want from games. So
we want more good games.
We want more good games, and this feels like it's good, right?
Talking about budgets and the prices of games and where that's all headed. Everyone this year, you got your Phantom Liberty DLC.
Boy, do you.
You've got you had Tears of the Kingdom.
Uh-huh.
You had Starfield.
Yeah.
You got your Lies of P, if that's what you're interested in. Baldur's Gate 3, all this shit.
Big
So
one.
many great releases that
Yeah.
people were looking forward to. A fucking massive year in gaming. My most anticipated game of the year just came out. It's called Cocoon. As of recording, I haven't had a chance to play it yet because we're recording, peek behind the curtain, prior to the game actually releasing. But by the release of this episode, the game will be out.
Oh.
So I can't talk about it yet. I cannot wait to talk about it. You'll hear a lot more of my thoughts and opinions on that next week.
Okay.
So hang tight. I know a lot of people were reaching out to me on social media actually and asking me when I would be able to give some thoughts on it. It's not going to be just yet. Wait till next week. And if you've played it and this is your cue, reach out to us with some thoughts, because I'm going to want to spend a decent amount of time on it. I can't wait to see what that's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. No, I can't wait for you to play that. We still have some good games in the fall coming out too. But
Spider-Man 2 is still
I was
coming
going to
out.
say
What are we
Spider-Man 2.
doing?
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
this year is bonkers. It's really incredible what's come out. Maybe a lot of it is just still that post-COVID kind of like pushing games forward, that we or pushing games back, I guess, that were caused by some of the temporary closures of the game companies. Who
This
knows?
is like higher or lower on the list for us. Pushing games forward, pushing games back.
Exactly.
Both work.
Both work. So neither work.
Wow.
Just like us.
We do need to get jobs.
Andrew, let's spend a little bit of time before Holstin talking spooks. Because it is the month of spooks.
It
We
is.
don't do well with spooks, and yet we like to put ourselves. It's like a spicy food scenario. I very often.
That's a very good comparison.
Yeah. Kind of like putting yourself in danger without actually being in danger.
Also, when you eat spicy food and you're like, God, that's so spicy, and you're putting more of it in your mouth, going,
Yes.
why am I doing this? But you're drawn into it.
Endorphins.
It's like putting your hand on a candle. You're like, I did it. Okay.
You do that?
Mikey,
Uh-huh.
my house is full of candles. It's like a Roman Catholic church in there.
I went away. We went out of town with my girlfriend and her family, and we were barbecuing, and someone had a book of matches and just left it on the table. Bad move, because I couldn't help but just light candles for the rest, or light matches for the rest of the day.
You just waste all the matches? Jesus Christ. What's
Andrew,
wrong with
what
us?
is wrong with you?
Jesus.
Yeah, it's fun. Have you ever lit a match?
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Honestly, I could do it all day.
Okay. Wow. Just late onset arson.
But controlled arson, just like eating spicy food or watching scary movies.
That's true.
Yeah.
So scary movies though. Are you talking about the titular scary movie?
Anna Faris.
Chris Elliott, Anna Faris. Yeah, very funny.
All the Wayans.
But more Wayans than you think. You're like, that's a lot of Wayans. You're like, no, that's not
no.
nearly enough Wayans.
Wait until the second half of the movie. There's
over
way
under
more
2.5
Wayans.
Wayans. You're like, you're not even close yet. You wouldn't believe how many. This thing is chock. It's like trying to sell a used car. I'm like, you won't believe how many Wayans we can fit into this baby.
Are the Wayans the O'Doyles of Hollywood?
Yeah,
There's so many Wayans.
so many.
No, you recommended a movie recently, and I know this is movie talk. We don't spend a ton of time talking about movies, but it is a scary movie that came out in perfect time. I guess actually longer ago than I would have estimated. But what a great way to start your spooky movie watching, because October is upon us. This movie is one that you recommended that I just recently watched.
Right.
It is called
Talk to Me.
Andrew, I'm doing that.
Oh, no, it's called Talk to Me. This is a who's on first situation.
Oh, and just as funny.
Okay, who's on first is very funny.
It's fucking hilarious.
It is so, okay, good.
No, I'm not. That is not a joke.
Yeah.
Who's on first to this day is still absolutely
Still
hilarious.
just, yeah, perfect. It's an A24 movie.
Almost as funny as Talk to Me.
Talk to Me, a real laugh riot.
A real laugh riot.
I was explaining to my player once, she's like, what is it about? I'm like, here's my advice to these crazy kids just shouldn't be doing seances.
They shouldn't be doing seances.
And problem solved.
It's so the basic premise of the movie, it centers around a community of kids, kind of a tight-knit kind of ne'er-do-wells or something, doing what all teenagers do, except instead of going and trying out the newest street drug of some sort, they have come across a hand, which is apparently the severed hand of an old medium that could contact spirits, and they've found a way to contact spirits themselves.
Yes.
Now, there are all these rules around how they're allowed to do so without endangering permanent entrance of spirits into their body. As you might assume by a movie like this, things go wrong.
That's exactly what happens.
That's exactly what happens.
You know, I will say too, just the reason they do that is over social media, which I think is actually one of the better handlings of, I'd watch it. Like there's so often you see a trend or a song or something like that, and you're like, it's the biggest song. You're like, I don't buy this.
Yeah.
This is one of the ones where I was like, oh, I could totally see us doing this. Absolutely. Where they're filming themselves doing these seances, doing these like summonings, and then it's kind of like Flatliners in a way.
Yes.
Where you know you shouldn't be doing it, but it's so much fun, and then one time it goes way too far.
Yes.
That's kind of like what the premise of the movie is.
The real life comparison would be like, we've all heard of the Bloody Mary thing, like spin around 3 times and say Bloody Mary in a dark room, or in a bathroom, and she'll show up in the mirror or something like that. And if there were Snapchats that showed it actually happening, and you're like, there's no way. So you get together with a group of friends and you do it, and it actually works.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what this is.
We just dumped a bucket of ice water on it because we said it. I drew awareness to ALS. I don't know how, but we did it.
Did you know they actually found significant treatments because of all the money that was raised as a result of the ALS challenge?
Who was donating money? Like, who was dumping a bucket of ice and then going like, here's a link?
Did you not? I did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you didn't do it the right way?
No, I was supporting ALS.
Oh, by?
Giving money to the other side.
You were stealing money from ALS.
I was giving it to Lou Gehrig's severed hand. He's just like, and I'm like, all right, Lou, here's another $5. He's like, all right,
man.
the Iron Horse, everybody.
You recommended this movie, Andrew, and I always love a good horror movie. We talk about all the time some of the best of recent memory. The Babadook kind of kicked off this new wave of horror that's less pop out scared, less like the Paranormal Activity, and more just the stuff that's gonna stick with you. It Follows is a great one.
It Follows is fucking phenomenal. I still think about It Follows all the time because and this one, it's just a sexually transmitted curse where whoever you pass it along to, that demon, that thing that could be in anybody, is just going to chase them until they get them.
Yeah.
It is such a good low budget movie. And you know, Mikey and I were talking just before the podcast too. It's like all these movies getting like 2.5 hours long. Horror still remains a very good draw because it's like 80 minutes.
Yes.
And you're like, fantastic.
It's great. It's great. Another Smile, I thought last year
was good.
Smile was a good one. So you've had these I think The Lodge actually was one that came out that was like one of the creepier ones that I've seen. Hereditary, another really good one.
Hereditary. Yeah, like a lot of The Witch, Robert Eggers stuff is good.
This is, I think, continuing that tradition. And I legitimately think that it's one of the best horror movies I've seen in years.
Oh, wow.
I really liked it. It was very scary.
Yeah.
And not a single pop-out scare that I can remember, which is great because I hate pop-out scares. I like when things are creepy to the point where I'm thinking about them when I'm going to bed. That's spice in food for me. Is that like I know there's nothing wrong, but I'm really scared. I was watching it with my player one, and she it really got under her skin, like really got under her skin to the point where she's like, I don't know if I can watch horror movies anymore, because she couldn't think about anything else before she was going to bed. And because it was under her skin so much, it got more under my skin, and I was creeped out. And like, you know, we're a week removed from it now, and we were talking about it. It's like, what a great movie. But there was a time where it was like, this has damaged us. And like, what a cool feeling in a weird way. Yeah.
I guess we didn't even mention Jordan Peele movies too. You know, like there's been a real rise in, you know, like, you know, A24 has done a really good job with this, and this is an A24 movie. You know, who could forget Megan?
Megan was great.
Yeah, Megan's great. It's just camp, wonderful nonsense. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think we're seeing a good trend going upwards a little bit. There was one that came out recently, No One Can Save You, on Hulu in the States, on Disney Plus in Canada. And it's just like another one. Just like there is, I think, 3 lines of dialogue, except it doesn't beat you over the head with like, oh, shh, we're not talking.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
There's no reason for them to speak. So therefore there isn't like talking at them. And it's really good. And it's about aliens.
Ooh.
Which is, you know what? It's not gonna be for everyone. I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. But because it does get a little weird near the end, and that's what most horror movies do. They have to explain a lot.
Yeah.
And you always go, I'm in or I'm not in.
Sometimes they show a bit too much. Yeah.
For sure. This one is weird enough that I really liked it. So I can recommend that one too. That's really good. But talk to me. I would do that first, because it's just like straight up good. It's just straight up like a kind of a good movie.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Do you have any traditions, gaming, movies, anyway, otherwise, like leading into October, like to get into the scary season?
So my player one and I think we talked about this years ago and stuff like that. We always on our off nights we'll watch either an old classic movie and then a new horror movie.
Nice.
So we'll do old classic horror, new horror, and so like it might be like the monster from the lagoon, Black Lagoon, like that kind of style, Nosferatu, like really good ones, or we go into like the 80s camp slasher, you know, and that's really good. And I will say, you know, horror used to be like a thought, like a beaten down category for so long, but man, last 20 years, there's been really good movies. We didn't even talk about the Ari Aster stuff too. Like you're talking about Hereditary, but we're talking about Midsommar and you know, all this kind of stuff, which is so cool and interesting.
And I just think that in general, in culture, I was going to say pop culture, but it's just culture in general. There is this new appreciation or a renewed appreciation for horror. Video games as well. Like Alan Wake 2 coming out soon is something that I just keep forgetting is happening. And the more I hear about previews, the more I hear people who have had hands on. People are saying it's like really good, like weird in that kind of, you know, we talked about, I think when we were talking about our most anticipated games of the upcoming year, we were talking about Alan Wake 2 and whether it was going to be as camp or as strange as like a Twin Peaks, or if it was kind of devoid of that, because the trailer that came out didn't seem like it was very Twin Peaksy like the first Alan Wake was. This one kind of seems like it even though the trailers may not show that, people are saying it's still in there, it's in the DNA. So I said I probably wasn't going to play it, but like I might. I'm very much considering it.
I think horror that carries across the video games too, because it feels like Resident Evil is just as relevant as it's ever been, with all the remakes and then the new stuff, and you know, wanting big vampire ladies to step on you and stuff like that. Like
I've always wanted that.
100% unrelated to that. It is one of those things that I knew I wanted. I just wasn't at the surface yet. And then Lady Dimitrescu shows up, and I'm like, uh-oh. It's come through the surface now.
It's awoken something in me.
Yeah, I want to get stepped on.
Vampires.
You don't want to be held like a baby by a large woman.
Please don't step on me, big vampires.
Wink.
Yeah. That's a game that I thought I was going to play was Resident Evil Village, that I just never really gave a full shot to.
We played the demo.
We did.
On a RetroGrave years ago.
Yeah, was it maybe 2 years ago?
Or is February? So one of them.
One of those.
We used to do 2 of these months.
Yeah, which was just legitimately too much for us to handle.
It was bad for our heart health.
It was bad for our heart health and but great for our viewers' enjoyment. So that's why we did it. But
our listenership spikes during October.
It legitimately does. The problem I found with Village was the first person ruined me. Yeah. Like it was way too scary. Yeah. You know, I played through the Resident Evil 4 remake. There's a lot of new kind of like scary areas that I didn't remember from the original. It had been so long since I played the original RE4, so I forgot about a lot of it, but it's still nowhere near as scary as playing in that first person perspective. It's scary as fuck. I don't like it.
Don't like it.
I don't like it. But speaking of perspective and perspective changes,
Hey.
this week we're talking about the game Holstin. As we mentioned, Holstin is a developed and self-published by Sonka. Sonka is a company based in Poland, I believe Warsaw. Sonka, I looked up their history. They haven't done too much. They developed Astro Bears and VSR Void Space Racing on the Switch.
Astro Bear sounds fun.
Astro Bear is probably great.
Probably sounds, yeah. Is it like the first bear we sent to space?
Like a the bear, like a butter bear, like a butter bear. Hey, butter bear.
What happened there? Are you okay? like a bear, like a bear on a bada bing.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like a butter bear, and then butter bear sounds like bada bing.
Right, the
So
strip club from The Sopranos.
Butter bear. Wait, what's it actually?
The bada bing.
Oh, I thought you meant the butter bear.
Oh, that'd be good.
Butter bear would be where Tony Soprano was a stripper.
Yeah. Build a bear, butt a bear. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Rebuild a juicy, luscious ass with a teddy bear's juicy, luscious ass.
Filled with capricole. Gabagool. They also did some publishing. They've been involved in some other company or some other games that came out, but nothing really of note. So it's very interesting to see them take such a big swing in a game that's getting this highly anticipated. At one point after the launch of the demo, it ranked among the top 200 most anticipated games on Steam worldwide. So
wow.
It's got a lot of eyes on it. It seems like Sonka is very proud of it. It got me curious enough to know that this was going to be worth playing the demo and trying. You know, we love nothing more than a game that pays homage to that retro style, and retro aesthetic, but just kind of brings it into the modern era. So prior to us starting, because as we mentioned, we've already played this game, did you have any expectations or anything you were expecting, like just based on screenshots of the game or what we'd talked about it being?
Yeah, like obviously it's got a very interesting art style, so I was kind of interested to see how the character would engage with the environment, because that can be a very hit or miss. Sometimes it's floaty, sometimes it's flat for that reason. I didn't find it either of those to be true.
Yes.
We can kind of talk about that. And then the other one was the engagement from like the world searching to the combat. I found like, okay, what's the difference going to be? And then the last one is, how could a game that looks like this with the text on the bottom and the search function and be scary?
Right.
How, because we're not trained to think that games like that are going to be scary.
Or we've moved past it, because
Fair
there
enough.
was a time when, you know, we reached out on Twitter to ask for some recommendations of games to play. And there were some recommendations from this actual era of gaming, like the early 90s or so, or late 80s, the 2D kind of like point and click adventures. I Have No Mouth Yet I Must Scream. Clock Tower, I think, was one of them. There were a few of them where it was just kind of like, there's no way now that would scare me, but back in the day, you're like so engrossed in it.
Well, who could forget the scariest movie of all? The train coming out the screen.
Andrew, I thought I got over it. I talk about loving horror movies. I'm going to be in bed.
Yeah.
Just like, chugga, 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 chugga. Where's it coming? Like the fugitive, the train peaks.
The peaks outside. Yeah. You mean wrongfully accused?
Wrongfully accused, making fun of you. Yeah, the Leslie Nielsen movie.
Yeah. You see a light in the distance in your wall, and you're like, "What the hell? It's just a tunnel the whole time that's coming out of you."
That's another game that I don't think it fully released yet, but Choo Choo Charles.
Oh,
Did you see the videos of that one going around? Where
it's very scary.
It looks incredibly scary. Where there's like a rogue train that's trying to kick the shit out of you.
It looks like a made-up game that they're like, should we really do this?
Yeah.
Kind of like Slender Man or something.
They really did it. We should look it up. If that game actually did get released, A, we should play it. B, I'm worried because I didn't hear anything about it post-release.
100%.
Yeah.
That's like every time they tried to make a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which they're really doing now, but it's like, oh, does it suck? Oh, that's too bad. It's like Thomas the Tank Engine though, right?
Yeah. I think it's like a perverted version of that. Like Poppy's Playtime meets Poppy Playtime meets Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah. And I will say, like we've been doing Retrograde for years, go back and watch some of the old Retrograde stuff. Poppy's Playtime is one of the most legitimately hilarious videos, because for 5 seconds, Mikey and I are all out of our chairs. We jump out of, we're like, oh, like just fantastic.
I think the two best we've had would be, or at least having fun filming and editing, is Five Nights at Freddy's VR and
Mortuary Assistant.
Mortuary Assistant as well. Yeah, last year we had some fucking bangers.
We had some good ones.
Really knocked it out of the park.
Bald Ghoul,
the Bald Ghoul himself. Not to say, you know, this is the thing.
I should dress as the Bald Ghoul for Halloween.
Just like lurch on like outside windows.
Wouldn't that be fun at a party? And they're just like, Alex. But player one would be like, your husband is up on a filing cabinet. I'm like, hey. And they're like, does he want to come down? Do you want to talk to him? I'd love to meet him. I'm like, no, he's in character right now.
There's Elf on a Shelf, and then there's Andy on a cabinet.
Andrew on a caribou, like it's like a stuffed caribou. That
So you're bringing a caribou with you to this party?
Well, I don't know, but if they got one, I'll come. That's part of the RSVP. Yeah. Any caribous or high perches in which my husband can stand on?
That's not to say that we're not picking great games for this month, but this one was not as scary. And as you mentioned, because you just talked about that, you're like, I have trouble seeing how they're going to make this game scary. It's isometric. Yep. It's purposely retro. Do you think, before we get too into our thoughts on it, that they succeeded in making it scary?
No, not in the traditional, like the games we've just listed.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there is that startling moment. You're like, oh God. There is a certain amount of dread built in.
Dread is the exact word I was going to use.
Oh yeah, really? Okay. Yeah. Because the amount of zombies, and you do get that zombie feeling where you're like struggling to reload and you're backing into something you didn't see. That part is all there. So yes, there is a little bit of frantic dread, but I don't think it's like, oh my fucking God, I can't believe how scared I am.
For sure. There's kind of a clumsiness in controlling the character, not because the controls are bad, but because inherently in a perspective switch, you have to be thinking about, if I pull my gun out right now, which way am I going to be facing? Where am I going to be aiming?
Yes.
Where is the zombie going to be at this point? If it moves out of my perspective, I'm screwed. There's a lot of that clumsiness that comes and feels more natural than it feels to go back and play like a Resident Evil 2, where the controls were so purposely clumsy that that's what caused the dread, where it's like tank controls. Like, I want to go back. It's like, well, then turn your whole body around and press forward. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I also will say they create moments of tension. There's moments where you have to unlock a door.
That's great.
And you're kind of looking back on like, do I have enough time to do this?
Yes.
And then they start noticing you unlock the door and it's a matter of time. Those moments work for me pretty well.
And it also is a matter of strategy. You know, it's like the pause menu in GoldenEye, for example. It's like, you know that there is a certain amount of time it's going to take to open this gate. You know that when you press pause in GoldenEye, there's a certain amount of time where you are vulnerable and you can get shot. Once you know that, you just have to apply that knowledge to any time you want to open a gate. So we would get to the point where it's the end of a level and or the end of a segment in a level, and you have to unlock a gate. And there's a couple zombies kind of straggling around. And we're like, I know that as soon as I try to unlock this guy's going to see me and walk. So I have to rethink my strategy, step back, reorient wherever the zombies are, kind of draw them to one area, and then come back and try to unlock it. So it's just a matter of strategy that affects the gameplay as opposed to feeling unfair, which I like.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, you know.
So let's go to just kind of give a little bit of a baseline for this. The Steam description of this game, a psychological survival horror game set in an eerie, isolated 90s Polish town consumed by an ominous presence. You've come looking for answers, but everyone seems possessed by something foul. Explore the festering town, interrogate locals.
Oh, Jesus.
We
didn't get to that part.
Go Jack Bauer on their ass, interrogate locals, and fight ungodly manifestations to get the truth. The one element in this demo that we didn't play as much, which is more prevalent in the first demo that released, is the exploration and kind of the world building and story building akin to that of a Resident Evil, where you're picking up notes, or like a Silent Hill or something like that, trying to piece together what's going on in this town. Less of that in this demo, which was a bit more straightforward, like here's movement, here's dodging, here's kicking, here's shooting, and unlocking doors, and just kind of teaching you more movement and like mechanics, which was kind of more the purpose of this. With that said, Andrew, the way that this played out specifically, like we start off, and we can kind of get into the nitty gritty of the demo now. It starts off pretty basic. You're talking to this guy who's essentially set up a museum.
Yes.
Under this tunnel. And it's very clear that it's like the developers talking to you through one of their characters in a very self-aware, like, hey, I'm going to show you the mechanics, quote unquote, of living in this world. It's him telling you that he's going to demo the game to you, which is kind of funny. I always appreciate that kind of like wink to the camera, that self-awareness. When we first started playing, we really struggled with a lot in this game. Moving in general.
Yeah, okay, so the first little bit, though, before you even see a zombie, it's just exploration. You're going room to room. Oh, do you have a key? Does the key open this door?
Yes.
Oh, okay, there's a little bit of that. Now, I wouldn't say any of that was super challenging, because it's just trying to get you the feel for the game at this point, right? And you're like, I think when we started getting challenged was the introduction of the camera change and shooting guns in general.
Yes.
Maybe even before that, actually.
A little bit before, like little things where, you know, we're not used to an isometric game where you have control over which perspective or which direction the camera's facing. Like you can swivel the camera all around your player. Right. And sometimes that reveals doors that you couldn't see because you're not looking directly at one of the walls, or you'll see something on the wall that you wouldn't have seen otherwise if you're looking at it from one angle versus another. But every time we went to go change the perspective, there was this learning period of like wanting to look just a little bit to the right and instead swiveling all the way back around. Yeah. Which is just like, those are growing pains. And honestly, one of the reasons why I think having a demo really helps. It's nice to kind of familiarize yourself with the game. A, to learn whether or not these controls and the perspective works for you. And B, when the game does come out, if you do end up getting it, that's all done. You've done the hard work. Now you can just like get into the game proper as it goes. But you're right. Once they started to introduce shooting, that's when things kind of got like, I was in on this. I was in on the game completely until the shooting period. And then I was like, I fucking don't know about this. It was hard as hell when we first started. Yeah. The shooting did not feel the way I thought it would. The bullets felt inconsequential in the way that sometimes they do in like a Resident Evil 4 or something like that. And I think maybe an element of that is like some of the pixel art, like the animations of a zombie getting shot it's not quite Doom where they explode, and it's not quite Resident Evil where they stop and like grab their leg every so often. It's a little bit less tactile than that.
Yes, but the animation itself is very Doom and Wolfenstein.
Yes.
It's very flat. So when you cut to, when you're watching on the kind of God's view here a little bit, you're like, oh, the characters kind of are rounded, even though it's pixely. When you cut to the over the shoulder, it's like a flat character pretty much. And you're trying to hit it. And you're right. Since they move in a pixelated form, your bullet can just get missed because they've stepped, and you're like, oh, okay.
It felt like I was using mouse. I'm very good with mouse and keyboard after playing. Okay, I mean, like, I'm not, sorry, I shouldn't say very good. Fucking brilliant with mouse and keyboard. I'm just fucking, I never miss. I never have. Never will.
Never will. You're like Hawkeye.
I am like Hawkeye.
Played golf.
Or Bullseye.
Played 18, shot 18.
Is there a line that Hawkeye has something like that?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous line. It's one of those ones where you're like, wow, they didn't really care about this character at all. Like, it's in the early parts before the show and before like whatever, he has a family and stuff like that. And they're like, I don't know.
He was playing with Kim Jong. Was it Il or Un who shot 18?
Un. Yeah. Well, that's a good question. Was it his father? I don't know. But yeah, and he shot like 27 or something like that.
No, it was 18.
He got a hole in one in every shot.
Well,
he is perfect.
It's
yeah,
exactly.
Dear leader. What were we gonna say?
Oh yeah, no,
you're perfect.
I am perfect. But it's amazing getting that shift of perspective from isometric to over the shoulder. Man, I was whiffing on a lot of shots, and it was the change in perspective, but it was, as you're saying, just the flat kind of textures moving at angles that I'm not really predicting. It's almost like it's tough. It's like if in Wolfenstein the enemies had one more angle that they could move at, kind of
not
like
front or sideways.
Not front, sideways. They had like diagonals, but then like one more, and it's this kind of reading the directions they're going to come at you or try to get around you was really hard to predict.
I will say the other thing that was really bad, not really bad, but I think was not consistent with the game, is that there was a lot of like, it's a demo and it's a hand holding. So they're like, have you thought about doing this? And you're like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about this. Even to the point that there was posters on the wall going like, try crouching, you know, like, or whatever. So it's very obvious, right? And then they just release you into a pen of zombies. And then all of a sudden a zombie turns into like a spiked monster. And you're like, I feel like this should have come up.
Which takes up like half the screen and damages you no matter what.
Because you're staring at them down the barrel of a gun and you're like, okay, they all look kind of the same. And then they all have different powers. And it feels like, whoa, did we miss the step where you go, okay, now we're going to release you into the cage with the special powered one.
Sure.
You're like, it just feels like that. And so it's okay. We've talked about how games should be less hand-holding.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a learning curve.
There was definitely a learning curve, and I think a learning curve that could have fared well to do something that was a little bit more, like not even just teaching, but in showing, you know, what was it about some of these zombies that could stomp on the ground and create a shockwave, or shoot pink balls up in the air that land and explode, or turn into spikes like
pink balls.
Pink balls.
Yeah.
Don't throw pink balls at me.
Don't throw pink balls.
It's like the one rule I have going into a game.
Yeah.
Don't throw big pink balls at me.
I like pink berry. They kind of look like pink berries,
They did.
but it wasn't
Not
delicious.
as delicious. Not as delicious.
Burning.
I would
poison.
not wait in line for
No,
those.
I would absolutely not.
Definitely not going to hear about these pink balls on Curb Your Enthusiasm. They had a
Oh
whole
yeah, did
episode
they do
about
the pink berry? Yeah.
Yeah. But like when I play a game like Dark Souls, I see an enemy and there's something about that enemy where I'm like, this guy's got something special. I'm going to avoid it. I know that there's like something else that it can do. It seemed like in Holstin, it was a little bit random, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe there's something we were missing.
Yeah, maybe.
But it definitely felt like being thrown to the wolves. That said, once I struggled with it a lot. I was banging my head against the wall. You took over and you got us through that first bit with the gunplay. And when I saw that kind of slower pace strategy of like, okay, you know what? How many bullets do I have? You're like, I have 8. And then we're thinking it's like 2 headshots,
A couple of kicks.
yeah, 2 headshots, and so there's some dismemberment here. It's harder to kill the zombies, but 2 headshots typically remove their head, which means they can still attack, but they can't see you or track you. You can shoot them in the legs, which means they have to crawl towards you, and it's all about slowing them down and incapacitating them enough that you can make it through this area and get past the locked door without them attacking you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have 8 bullets, okay, and I could see you doing the math. You're like 2 headshots,
Yeah.
on 2 zombies, and then like an incapacitation, and I'm good. And then once I kind of got that, almost like the math of it,
Yeah.
the puzzle element, I was like, oh, I get this. And then the game clicked for me, and I was back to actually really liking it. Did you find yourself back on the other side?
No, I quite liked it. Once it kind of clicked, I was like, oh, I get it. Okay. Every stage in between these pens is a long tunnel. You go through a metal gate, then there's some zombies, and then a metal gate closes it sometimes. And so you have a little break period, and then you kind of do it again, and you continuously go. I got a few stages in, and I was like, okay, I get this. And then I stopped, I died. And then you picked up where I left off, and you did a couple of stages. And it was like, okay, I liked that each of them was different. There was different goals. Sometimes you had to find a picture. We had to find a picture of the Pope.
Yeah.
Yep. And then other ones, it was like to find different guns, find different bullets, to combine things. There's a crafting element to it, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, it is an interesting game because there's also some stealth elements to it too, making noise. It's kind of like low rent Last of Us.
Yeah, it is actually especially in those like underground with the clickers and
And the crafting element and the sourcing and all that kind of stuff. So, I liked it. I thought it was fun. The challenge was very much there.
Yeah.
Especially for a demo. I was like, this is kind of hard. And I kind of liked it for that.
Good, because I wouldn't want it to be so handholdy that it's easy and then you get the game and it kicks you in the teeth.
Exactly.
Now you know that they may throw you into it a little bit, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm expecting. I'm okay with it. You mentioned briefly finding a picture of the Pope, and that probably sounds weird to people who haven't seen or played the demo, but that is one of the for some reason objectives of the demo. You have to find a picture of the Pope and give it to this guy who's curated this weird demo for you within the game.
Who also might be a zombie?
Who also is kind of zombie-ish, yeah. And it's aware of how silly it is, almost as though it's paying homage to we need to find the serpent's head with the red rubies as a key to open this drawbridge in Resident Evil.
That would have been more normal. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, why not just a picture of the Pope? Let's do it. And your character complains and he's like, stop whining, just do it. Otherwise, I'm not letting you go through. Sorry, that's the way this game works. It's funny. It's good.
Yeah.
So if the game itself also has this weird paying homage to the spookiness and the grit of like a Resident Evil and Silent Hill, while keeping some camp, while incorporating some modern mechanics of like the over the shoulder and some crafting elements that we got in something like The Last of Us. It, big shoes to fill based on the influence that this game is drawing from, but it felt like they kind of nailed it. And I don't know whether that's just me being excited that it worked. Yeah. Please let this work because it's a very cool premise. But I feel like I could spend a lot of time in that world.
Oh, no, I quite like this game.
Yeah.
I really did. So are we going to apply a rating to it? Or?
I think we are. So what we did last year, which worked pretty well, I think people liked it. We gave the game 2 ratings out of 4 bits. Okay. Not a retro and current score like we usually do with our games. We gave the first score out of 4 bits was the spooky score. Was how scary is this game out of 4 bits? And then the next is the score out of 4 bits based on how good the game is. Now, scary, I think, has to be kind of up for interpretation here.
Yeah.
But I'll let you do your own interpretation of it and start us off with your spooky score out of 4 bits.
At a 4-bit spooky score. So I like this game, but it's not the spookiest.
Yeah.
It's not incredibly spooky.
Yeah.
But
there are moments of panic.
Yes.
So I'm going to give it a very right down the middle, 2 out of 4.
Yeah.
Because it's not scary, but it's not without moments of a little bit of panic.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, thinking back to what scared me about the early Resident Evil games and Silent Hill games back when I played them was the panic that would set in, and then it's like you've never seen a controller before. It's like nothing is working and you're like, fucking what do I do? And that is scary. And that's a different kind of scary than Poppy Playtime, where it pops out at you and it's spooky. And a game like Poppy Playtime or a game like Mortuary Assistant last year, I gave a very high scary score too.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it wasn't a good scary because I don't like pop-out scares. I'm going to give it a higher scary score.
Really?
But with a caveat that it is not the kind of scary that a Poppy Playtime is going to give you.
No.
It's the dread. It's the panic. It's the feeling of not having control of your senses. It's the feeling of what it would be like if zombies were actually coming at you. It's the feeling of like, you see in movies, anyone who's within 20 feet of you, you can headshot them with a pistol very easily. Whereas if you gave you or me a gun or anyone a gun, they're probably going to miss 9 out of 10 shots.
God,
from that. Yeah. And this kind of gives you that feeling with this atmospheric dread and spookiness that kind of comes along with it. I'm actually going to give this one a 3 out of 4 for spookiness.
Okay.
But I need people to understand it's a different spooky. It's a lack of control spooky. It's the spooky where you can't run in a dream as opposed to the spooky of what's around that corner.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our spooky scores. That's going to be 5 out of 8.
Yes.
On the spooky score, and then we're going to give our normal score out of 4 of what we think about the game.
Yes.
I like this game. It's fulfilling something that I don't think is on the market. I think they found a very specific niche, both with the art style, the inspiration, and with the scavenging and shooting and low, like survivor horror kind of style of game. I think this is really a lot of fun. I could see its limitations. I could see its repetitive nature. You can already kind of see it seems. But at the same time, who cares if it's repetitive if it's fun? Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. I like that. It is, you're right, very tough to gauge it based on a demo because it's very clear that this is an extended tutorial. It's not just, this is not a vertical slice of the game. It's like, we're going to show you just zombies. Then we're going to show you crouching by zombies. Then we're going to show you kicking zombies. Then we're going to show you dodging.
Crouching by zombies.
Crouching by zombies.
It's a handbake series that they're making.
What's in your hand? Oh, crouching by zombies. But I would imagine that when you intersperse the puzzle elements and the exploration elements with the odd zombie in the odd room, the game is going to take on a whole new feeling. Now, I can't give it an amazing score just based on the what if. Yeah. But what we played today was a good enough proof for me. I'm with you on that one. I'm going to give this one a 3 with a big asterisk, which is a big potential upswing for this one if they can incorporate the more slow-paced elements with what we played.
Absolutely. So that's gonna be a 6 out of 8, a nice 75% there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. A very good start to Retrograve. Not the spookiest. Still pretty good.
We're getting our feet wet.
We're absolutely wet with blood.
A good Andrew. I don't know if these things bleed.
Right.
Ooh. I think they ooze.
I think they shoot pink berries at you. Or what did we say called pink balls?
Pink balls. Yeah, you called them pink berries.
I did.
You did. I'm excited. I'm very excited for this game to come out. We talked earlier about the Cyberpunk dilemma and the post-release fixes. I'm gonna just go out there and say to Sonka, take your time.
Take your time.
Make
it as good as possible.
Next October, sure. I hope not. I hope I don't have to wait that long. But if that's what it takes, go for it.
That's what it takes.
And there's a good chance there's going to be a significant delay because this game was made, I'm pretty sure, developed using Unity, the Unity engine.
Oh, okay.
Unity is now embroiled in all this controversy because they're imposing a bunch of new, we talked about this in the last episode, but a bunch of new payments for every time your game is installed onto a new machine. That's financially causing a lot of problems for a lot of developers and publishers out there. So we'll see if they have to port the game to a new engine somehow or change it from the ground up. I don't know, but it's liable to see even more delays beyond that.
But yeah, for sure. Go out there and play Holstin. It was kind of fun. And, we got a whole month of this coming up, guys. I think we still have some flexibility. So if there's something you really want to see us play, please get at us at RetroGrave Mikey, at RetroGrave Andy, at RetroGrave Pod, or retrogradepodcast@gmail.com.
The Retrograde Podcast.
The
at
Retrograde
gmail.com.
Podcast at gmail.com.
That's slowly becoming the best way to get in touch with us with recommendations and things
Okay.
like that. Because I think you and I are both kind of slowing down our Twitter presence in general. Prefer to keep it to email. Twitter is hurting my brain a little bit.
I don't know. It's better than ever. Yeah, get us an email. That's probably the best way of doing it so that we can be playing the games that you want to see us play as we get probably more and more scared as this stupid month goes on.
Andrew, there's one game that I have on our list, which I scoured as many lists as I could, and this one topped a lot of them for scariest game. Just flat out scariest game. And it's unfortunately there is a free demo of it, so we have like no reason. We like to stick to the demos because then people can play along with us a little bit. I don't love it. I don't love the idea of doing it.
I don't like this. I don't like that's
we have to have it at least the one that puts us in a hospital.
Oh yeah, 100%. I understand that, like, you know, like I walk on a stage and piss myself, everyone laughs, but I get paid at the end of the day and it's all good. So whatever you want to do to see us embarrass ourselves, we work for you.
I like the idea that you boot up the mortuary assistant and another body arrives on a slab and it's just yours or mine.
It's just me. Yeah. Oh, it's you and I together.
Just holding hands, clutching our hearts.
In a wonderful 69 position. They embarrass us in death too. Well, we got a month of this, so I can't wait to talk to you soon. We love every single one of you and hate you. We can't wait to talk to you next week. My name is Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the Bat Boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the RetroGrave podcast.
Grave over.
What does that mean?
Grave over?
Yeah.
Means I kicked that fucking great headstone down.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Oh no, my keys.